My roommate's mom said I should switch bedrooms because her daughter deserved the bigger room, then try to charge me rent for the one I already paid for. Okay, so for context, I rent a two-bedroom apartment in a mid-sized city. Not a penthouse or anything, but in this economy, it's pretty nice. I signed the lease last fall. The apartment has two bedrooms. One's bigger, with a bigger window, slightly more closet space, and better light. Naturally, since I moved in first and handled the lease, I took that room. Makes sense, right? It was a stressful process. The landlord wasn't exactly responsive. The place needed some touch-ups, and I had to deal with a leaking sink for the first week. But I made it livable. I cleaned, patched, decorated, and basically made it feel like a real home. 3 months in, I realized the rent was a bit of a stretch solo, so I decided to get a roommate. I put out some feelers online and finally landed on a girl named Tara. She seemed normal enough during our 20-minute coffee meetup. Kind of chatty, slightly overconfident, but hey, I didn't need a best friend, just someone to help with bills and not leave dishes in the sink for 3 days. She moved in a few weeks later, took the smaller room, which she saw beforehand, and I figured we were good. Big mistake. Tara wasn't the worst roommate at first, but she had some habits. Like, she'd run the dishwasher with only 3 things in it, constantly, or she'd borrow my snacks and leave passive-aggressive notes like, "Hey, I took some of your granola. I figure it's healthy, so you wouldn't miss it. Smiley face." Or she'd let her friends crash in the living room without asking, then act surprised when I mentioned it. "Oh, you didn't want my friend to use your yoga mat as a bed? My bad." Still, I thought it was just adjustment pains. We didn't argue. I'm not confrontational, unless I have to be. Then came her mom. I met her mom, let's call her Cynthia, about 2 months after Tara moved in. I had just come back from work, and there was this woman standing in the kitchen like she owned the place. Late 50s, pearls in the apartment, full makeup, holding a mug of my tea. She didn't say hi. No intro. Just, "Oh, you must be the roommate." Like I was some squatter she was reluctantly tolerating. I smiled because I'm polite even when I probably shouldn't be and said, "Yep, I'm the one on the lease. You must be Tara's mom." She raised her eyebrows and replied, "Tara's mother? Yes. I'm just here to help my daughter rearrange a few things. The feng shui in her room is awful, and this whole setup is a little unbalanced, don't you think?" I blinked. Unbalanced? Well, she has a smaller room, but she's younger and needs more light. That darker room is fine for someone more settled. I couldn't tell if she was serious. Spoiler, she was dead serious. Later that evening, Tara came into my room. Without knocking, of course. "Hey, so my mom made some really good points. Your room does get better light, and it's slightly bigger. And, well, I was thinking we should switch." I actually laughed. Not sarcastically. I thought it was a joke. "Wait, you're serious?" "I just think it's fair. You've had it for a while, and I don't really like my room's vibe. Also, your window faces east. It's better for my plants and my mental health." I stared at her for a moment and said, "You saw both rooms before moving in. You picked yours. I'm not switching now because your mom thinks it's unbalanced. That's not how this works." She frowned like I was the unreasonable one. "So you're not even willing to consider it?" "No, not even slightly." She stormed out. I thought that would be the end of it. I was very wrong. 3 days later, a piece of paper appeared on the kitchen counter, printed, with bullet points. It was titled, "Proposal for Room Swap, a Fair Compromise." Some highlights. Room A, currently occupied by Opie, is approximate 12% larger than Room B. Tara is a full-time student and needs a better mental health environment. Switching would benefit both parties. Opie can declutter and practice minimalism, while Tara can thrive academically. It ended with, "Let's be adults about this and meet halfway. Room swaps are normal in roommate situations, and I'm willing to help with the move." I left it on the counter with a sticky note that just said, "Absolutely not. Stop asking." I even texted her to make it extra clear. Not switching rooms. Please drop it. The next weekend, I came home and noticed my room door was slightly open, which was weird because I always shut it tight. When I walked in, something felt off. My bed had been moved slightly. A stack of books on my desk was shifted. My chair was rolled to the opposite wall. Nothing was missing, but it had been entered and rearranged. I confronted Tara immediately. She said, "Oh, my mom was just seeing if your layout would work better for me. She's an interior designer." Was she now? I said, "Did she also get hired to violate my privacy?" Tara blinked. She didn't touch anything important. I called an emergency lock change, then told Tara, if her mom entered my room again, I'd involve the landlord and police. 3 weeks after that incident, Tara and I barely spoke. She tiptoed around, and I was actively looking for a new roommate. But then came the final straw, and oh boy, it was a masterpiece of entitlement. I got an email from a property management company notifying me of a change request in our billing. Apparently, someone had contacted them asking to transfer the billing of the larger room to Tara, reduce my share of rent since I'd agreed to move into the smaller room, backdate the switch to last month, charging me for the smaller room retroactively, bill her mom for the difference as my new sublessor. I lost my mind. I immediately called the leasing office and explained everything. Thankfully, the staff on the phone, shout out to Mark, was stunned and said, "This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. We obviously didn't process it, don't worry." I asked for a copy of the email. Yep, it was signed. Cynthia, last name, property and design consultant, on behalf of my daughter Tara. Update. I'm not a confrontational person. Normally, I'd rather grit my teeth, vent to a group chat, and ride out whatever drama's in front of me. But this wasn't just roommate drama. This was a full-blown con attempt, and it had Cynthia's claw prints all over it. After seeing the email she sent to the leasing office, trying to backdate room assignments and reroute rent, I knew it wasn't enough to just shut it down. I needed to make sure neither Tara nor her meddling mother ever tried something like this again. So I did what every slightly unhinged but legally cautious tenant should do. I got everything in writing. First, I asked the property manager, Mark, my new favorite person, to send me a copy of the lease with annotations showing which room I was paying for and which room was Tara's. Thankfully, we'd filled out a unit layout form during her move-in. It clearly labeled Bedroom A larger, as mine and Bedroom B as Tara's. Then I wrote up my own email. "Hi, Mark. Just confirming in writing that I've never agreed to switch bedrooms, nor did I authorize anyone, especially not a third party, to request changes to the rent breakdown. My room remains Bedroom A as agreed. Any request that says otherwise is fraudulent. Please notify me immediately if any further attempts are made." He replied, "Understood. Don't worry, we flagged the account. No changes will be made without your written consent." Sweet. Step 1, white heavy checkmark. A few hours later, Tara came home. I was sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open, printed email on the counter, like an exhibit in a courtroom drama. She looked at the paper, saw her mom's name, and her face turned red. "Why are you going through my mom's emails? You had your mom try to reassign the rent and rooms without asking me. That's fraud, Tara. You don't get to play victim here." She stammered. She was just trying to help. "Your mom's not on the lease. She's not your lawyer. She's not your real estate agent. She definitely isn't mine." And then she said something that truly baffled me. "I don't get why this is such a big deal. You're still living here. What does it matter who's in what room?" My brain short-circuited for a moment because I pay for this room. I cleaned it. I moved my stuff here. I signed the lease for this exact space. That's like saying, why does it matter whose name is on the car if we're both driving it? She rolled her eyes and mumbled something about overreacting, then tried to end the conversation with, "Let's just move past it." Nope. We were way past moving past it. I knew Tara and Cynthia were up to something. What I didn't expect was to find actual evidence of their scheme, completely by accident. While I was in the laundry room 2 days later, I saw Tara had left her mail open on the kitchen table. One of the envelopes had Cynthia's name on the return address, but the recipient was Cynthia, last name, care of Tara, last name. Weird. She was sending herself mail? I didn't open it. Not my style. But it got me thinking. Why would Cynthia list herself as a care of under her daughter's address unless she was trying to establish residency? I checked the mail pile, and sure enough, 3 more envelopes had Cynthia's name, sent from design firms, credit unions, and something called a virtual office suite. So I dug deeper. I started searching Cynthia's name with our building's address. And guess what? She had started using our apartment address as her business address. I checked her LinkedIn. She called herself a residential energy consultant and design specialist, whatever that means. Then I checked her business registration. Lo and behold, she'd filed paperwork with our apartment as her official place of business. And that's a direct violation of our lease. We're in a residential zone. You're not allowed to operate a business out of the apartment, period. Especially not if you're not even a resident. So I did the responsible thing. I sent it all to the landlord. Screenshots, business listings, mail addressed to her, LinkedIn bio, her attempt to take over the rent split, everything. Subject, unauthorized business activity and fraudulent address use. Hi, Mark. I've discovered that Tara's mother, who has no legal right to reside in our unit, has listed our apartment as the official address for her business. Additionally, she's been using the space for unauthorized activity, mail delivery, business correspondence, etc., and has attempted to manipulate our lease terms without my consent. This is a serious breach of the lease. I'm requesting that you formally address this and consider next steps. Let me know if you need more documentation. I attached everything. Less than 24 hours later, I got a call. Hi, this is Mark from Property Management. Just confirming we've received your complaint. We're taking it seriously. This is a clear violation. We'll be sending a formal notice this week. That formal notice arrived in our mailbox 3 days later. It was addressed to me and Tara and stated, in no uncertain terms, no unauthorized occupants or business activity is allowed in the unit. Use of the address for business purposes must cease immediately. Any further violations would result in lease penalties or eviction. Only leaseholders are permitted to request rent-related changes. I watched Tara read it. She looked pale. She tried to shrug it off, but I knew the pressure was on, especially since her mom stopped showing up after that. Now, you'd think that would be the end. But no. A few days later, I came home and found my bedroom door taped shut with a note. Just giving you a taste of what it's like to feel pushed out. Maybe now you'll understand. T. She tried to lock me out of my own bedroom in retaliation. That was it. I knocked on her door and said, Tara, you have 30 days to move out. I'm not renewing with you. Start looking. She opened the door and said, You can't kick me out. I can, and I am. She tried the whole we're co-tenants, you can't just decide that. But I had already spoken with the property manager. Since the lease was in my name and she was added as a month-to-month tenant, I had the right to non-renew her portion. I gave official notice the next day. Over the next month, Tara packed up slowly and angrily. I started interviewing new roommates, all while enjoying the utter silence of Cynthia not storming in and out of our apartment like she owned it. Right before she moved out, Tara tried one last guilt trip. I hope you're happy. You broke up a family just so you could keep your precious window view. I didn't even respond. She left on the 30th day. The day after she moved out, Mark emailed me again. Thanks for keeping us informed. We've updated your file. If you want help screening the next tenant, let us know. The mail stopped coming in Cynthia's name. No more weird notes. No more fake feng shui lectures. No more entitled attempts to manipulate rent like this was a Sims house. I kept the big room. I kept the lease. And I kept my sanity. Update. For the first time in what felt like forever, the apartment felt like mine again. No more sticky notes on the fridge reminding me to live with gratitude. No more passive-aggressive texts about dishwasher etiquette. No more unwanted consultations from the self-proclaimed energy consultant known as Cynthia. I cleaned everything, scrubbed the baseboards, opened the windows, even saved the place. Don't judge me. I was traumatized. It felt like the emotional exorcism I didn't know I needed. And for a few blissful weeks, it was quiet. But quiet never lasts long when you've tangled with entitled people. I put out feelers for a new roommate a week before Tara officially moved out. I figure it might take time to find someone decent. I got the usual responses. Students, freelancers, one woman who wanted to start an ASMR streaming channel from her closet. But one applicant stood out. Let's call her Alyssa. Her message was clear, professional, and even a little funny. She said she worked hybrid in tech, didn't party, cooked once a week in big batches, and was allergic to cats. So no surprise kitten appearing out of nowhere, which had happened to me once before, long story. We met for coffee, and she was normal. No crystals, no weird vibes, no mention of room swaps. So she moved in. It was great until 3 weeks in. I came home from work one Thursday and saw a package in the mail bin with a familiar name on it. Cynthia, last name. Again, my stomach dropped. It had our unit number on it, addressed to her. Not Alyssa, not forwarded, just Cynthia. Back like some kind of vengeful poltergeist. I brought it inside, confused and honestly a little unsettled. Alyssa came out of her room and said, "Oh, that's for me." Well, not for me, it's for a friend. She just asked to have something sent here. My eyebrow twitched. Cynthia? Your friend is named Cynthia? She paused. She's my aunt. My stomach twisted. Your aunt is Tara's mom? Alyssa blinked, then gave up the act. Okay, yeah. I didn't know if I should say anything. I thought it would blow over. Turns out, Alyssa was Cynthia's niece. She had replied to my roommate ad on Cynthia's suggestion. Cynthia had convinced her that she'd been wronged, that I was aggressive, territorial, and had stolen the bigger room from her daughter. Alyssa admitted she thought her aunt was exaggerating, but figured she'd try to get the room anyway because she did need a place. She had no idea how bad it had actually gotten, or that her aunt had tried to falsify rent documents and run a business from my apartment. And the best part? She told me not to tell you we were related until you got to know me, so you wouldn't judge. You know, like how liars do. I'm not proud of how passive-aggressive I got after that, but I also didn't care anymore. I emailed Alyssa formally. I copied the leasing office. Due to your familial connection to a previous tenant's unauthorized behavior and repeated lease violations, I no longer feel comfortable continuing this arrangement. I offered her 30 days to find a new place. Same as Tara. Clean break. She didn't fight it. She said she understood, and I believe she genuinely didn't expect the mess her aunt had stirred up. She moved out in 2 weeks. I sanitized the hell out of the place. Again, I thought I was done. Truly. But Cynthia couldn't resist. One evening, I got a call from a block number. Against my better judgment, I picked up. You didn't have to do that to Alyssa. Her voice. I froze. Cynthia, you've made this so hostile. She was just looking for a place. And now you've scared her off. What are you so afraid of? That someone else might deserve that room more than you. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just said, stop using this address. Stop contacting me. The next time I hear from you or get your mail, I'm filing a restraining order. This isn't a game. You've been warned. Then I hung up. I forwarded the call log and her renewed mail to the leasing office again. They escalated it to corporate this time. Within 48 hours, I got a response that said, "Thank you for the documentation. A formal cease and desist has been issued to the involved party, and we have updated your lease file to reflect the incident." Apparently, Cynthia had used our building's address on 5 different business-related accounts, including some digital real estate listings and a site called Home Flow Energy Designs. That site went down a week later. It's been 3 months since all that happened. I've got a new roommate now, a grad student named James. He's into hiking, makes his own coffee creamer, and hasn't once asked for my room or suggested his mom drop by to adjust the energy flow. The apartment finally feels like home. And best of all, I haven't seen a single package, letter, or email with the name Cynthia on it since.